Here's your wrestling news for July 24th, 2022, and today we're kicking off with Ring of Honor, as last night was the promotion's Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view and kicked off with an explosive title change. In the first match on the main card, Claudio Castagnoli defeated Jonathan Gresham to become the new Ring of Honor World Champion. The win was celebrated with confetti as it was a long time coming for the Swiss wrestler and fans, many of whom had hoped to see Castagnoli become world champion while in WWE. Tony Khan has said that he doesn't plan to have any hybrid champions on AEW or Ring of Honor programming, but with that said, it's hard to imagine that Claudio won't flaunt his new title on Wednesday. This past Friday, Vince McMahon officially announced his retirement from WWE, bringing an end to 4 decades running the company. Even after McMahon stepped down as CEO and chairman, he maintained an iron grip over the creative team, who are now being left without an official leader. On his show, Dave Meltzer discussed the role, saying that the creative team's future is up in the air, and several others, including Triple H, may make a power grab for the incredibly important role. While Triple H may seem the obvious choice, his health issues may mean he cannot travel week to week like the head of creative should, and it's worth remembering that Bruce Prichard, a longtime Vince confidant, could aid with smooth transition if he runs creative. These are truly unprecedented times within WWE, and whatever comes next, we know that McMahon's announcement this week will have ramifications for years to come. Many are hoping that Triple H would soon be running much of WWE alongside his wife, but we can't count out Bruce Prichard. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer said how since Vince has been in charge for so long, the options are several unproven people, but Prichard isn't too popular backstage. Prichard may have worked closely with McMahon for years, but to many, he's a yes man who took his job as to producing what Vince wanted rather than being a visionary on his own. Meltzer did say that despite this, something is clicking, as numbers are up in WWE across the board right now, so something he's done recently has to be working. After decades of McMahon in control, the entire landscape of WWE behind the scenes is going to change, but we'll have to see who is left with more and less power in this new era of the company. Mere hours before McMahon's retirement announcement, Triple H was appointed the Executive Vice President of Talent Relations, a role he previously held until early 2020. On the latest Wrestling Observer Radio, it stated that the timing of the two announcements is very interesting, as McMahon's retirement also means he's no longer in charge of creative. Dave Meltzer noted that with a huge gap in creative left wide open, it'd make sense that Triple H will fill this role too, adding that his wife being co-CEO of WWE doesn't hurt his chances either. McMahon's retirement has completely shifted the backstage power system in WWE, and the company will need someone experienced very quickly to fill Vince's role with creative. Given his decades of experience and history in charge of NXT, it makes a lot of sense for Triple H to be put in charge of creative, as the King of Kings is going from strength to strength in the post-Vince McMahon era. As we mentioned, Triple H is now the Executive Vice President of Talent in WWE, which could mark a change in focus for the company's hiring process. While McMahon's NIL program focuses on signing college athletes with little to no wrestling experience, Triple H's NXT saw the brand sign established veterans of other promotions and the independent scene. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer was asked if Triple H plans to go after top stars from AEW, and the veteran journalist said that the game won't hesitate if he thinks he can get them. Meltzer added that even if Vince McMahon was still in charge, the idea of signing a top star away from AEW would likely be worth breaking his rule to only sign college athletes. Meltzer added that the Young Bucks have a year and a half left on their deals with AEW, and Kenny Omega has about 6 months remaining, and that while that may not be enough time for WWE to give them evidence of a change, WWE could pursue them if the opportunity is there. After the success Cody Rhodes has had in WWE so far, it could just be a matter of time before more AEW stars follow him to greener pastures. Two names fans haven't seen in WWE for months are Sasha Banks and Naomi, who are continuing to serve a suspension after their May 16th walkout of Raw. On that night, the two had a meeting with Vince McMahon but could not come to terms with the then chairman, but his retirement could see them return. Wade Keller of PW Torch notes that there is optimism among the female roster that things will improve for them with Stephanie McMahon as co-CEO, given that she is a big fan of women's wrestling. Addressing the Banks and Naomi situation, it said that many are confident that the two will return soon, as their main issues were with Vince McMahon, and that they are likely to return within the next few months. At one point, it seemed like both women were on their way out of the company, but the post-Vince McMahon era could be the fresh start they, and several other women on the roster, have been looking for. When Triple H was in charge of NXT, WWE were able to sign top independent talent, including Finn Balor, Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe, Adam Cole, and many more. Even still, there's a lot of wrestlers who have claimed that they will never work for WWE, but their minds could be changed thanks to McMahon's retirement. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Brian Alvarez explained how McMahon's decision could see WWE have an influx of incoming talent and used Darby Allin as an example. We had an interview with Darby Allin on the Jericho Cruise, and he made it abundantly clear that he would never, ever consider, not for 1 second, going to NXT. And the reality is, he was right. I mean, his size, there was virtually zero chance that he would ever have any chance whatsoever on the main roster. But if Triple H ends up the head of talent relations, and he ends up with power in booking, and you look at what he did when he had NXT, I mean, I certainly would not leave today if I were Darby if my contract were up today. But a year from now? I mean, if you're seeing all shapes and sizes getting pushed on WWE television, I mean, I would think about it, and I absolutely would not think about it if Vince McMahon were still in charge of the main roster, and I don't think he's the only guy. Right now, the best thing that the person in charge of WWE needs to be is open-minded, especially after decades of Vince McMahon focusing only on what he wants to see, as the landscape of wrestling rosters could wildly be different in just a few years' time. In 2009, Mr. Kennedy was released from WWE after a decent 4 years on TV, which saw him feud with stars like The Undertaker and Batista. Kennedy was once poised to become a WWE World Champion, which ultimately never panned out, but now he's looking to get back in the ring, albeit in a different role. Speaking with Chris Van Vliet of Insight, Kennedy said he has intentions to return to wrestling and that one of his goals is to be re-signed by WWE as a manager. During his tenure with WWE, the former US champion was known as the Green Bay Loudmouth and was certainly one of the best talkers on the mic when he was employed. Kennedy's WWE career ended after he accidentally dropped Randy Orton on his head during a match, and after Orton got John Cena on his side, WWE took the word of two of their biggest ever stars. After WWE, Kennedy would work under his real name Ken Anderson, becoming a TNA World Heavyweight Champion, but don't be surprised if we see him back on WWE TV after 12 years away. And we're ending with Smackdown as Maxine Dupri made her debut in a segment with Maximum Male models Mace and Mansoor. Maxine, played by Sophia Cromwell, is the on-screen sister of Max Dupri, who was conspicuous by his absence during SmackDown, and fans shouldn't expect to see that character return. According to Pro Wrestling Torch, one of Vince McMahon's final duties as head of WWE Creative was to scrap the Max Dupri character, as he was rubbing people the wrong way behind the scenes. Ringside News were later told that Max is out and that there were some doubts that he was cut out for the main roster. Their report added that Dupri lacked people skills, confirming the PW Torch article that he was rubbing people the wrong way. While McMahon had reportedly decided weeks ago that the Max Dupri character had to be scrapped, Fightful reports that he was booked for SmackDown up until the last minute when the decision was made to pull him. It's also noted that while Mace and Mansoor were on board with the modeling gimmick, Dupri himself had some reservations. The introduction of Maxine was WWE's way of writing Max out of the storylines, and while WWE's new creative team could reverse the decision, they're unlikely to do so. It's worth stressing that Dupri is still under contract and is in the best shape of his career, according to himself. It's unclear what the future holds for L.A. Knight, aka Max Dupri, but his brief tenure on SmackDown is seemingly already reached its end. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.